Hey guys, welcome back. So this book that I read this week, The Hiding Place by Corrie, this is when I was mentioning that I really did not want to read this book. There's a couple reasons why I didn't want to read the book. One, I had seen a homeschool musical version of it, and not that the show or anything was bad, it was just long and really rough. Um, so there was that I was kind of taking a look at, and then also I'm not I've read several, and I'm probably going to read several more, but I'm not a huge fan of um, most things that fall into the Christian genre, of Christian authors and such genre, because I feel like, especially authors who are um, writing for a specific audience, tend to get very browbeating and very way over your head um, with some of the items that they're talking about and some of the ways that they want to address a lot of the issues that they either see in their characters or that their characters are experiencing. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't have a genre of novels and such that go for that group. Like, every group deserves to have their own set of novels. It's just not my thing. And This one actually wasn't as bad. So, if you don't know the story, this is a true story, if I recall, of a family that they were a Christian family in the Dutch Reformed Church, I think, which is their early stages of the evangelical movement in Europe. And they started hiding people who were Jewish, and some other people who just were working with the resistance during World War II, specifically from Nazi Germans. And they're in Holland, so they're Dutch. And if you don't know anything about history, the Germans come in and they take over Holland, and they're basically in charge of Holland. So if you think of other stories that you would have heard about, would have been Anne Frank and stuff. So that is kind of in the same area, same time frame, right? So the Ten Boom family, they start doing that, and the story is from Corrie's viewpoint. She was, can't remember if she was the second or third oldest. I don't remember where she fell in the lineup of all the siblings, but so it was her and her sister, or two sisters and brother. And they were all working in the resistance in some capacity, as was their father, though a little less so, because he was much older, and so he didn't always understand kind of really what was going on, and the levels that they were dealing with. He was just like, people are welcome to come into my house at any time. He was a very open person. So anyway, they are caught and sent to a series of jails and camps for hiding Jews. And in the process, when they are caught, their father dies, and then Corrie and her sister Betsy, they are the ones that are imprisoned the longest, and so eventually Betsy dies as well in the prison, just from getting sick. And then their older brother also gets sick, but he survives the prisons, and then he dies after the war. But he contracted the disease while they were in prison. So it's a very interesting book, and I again, I didn't mind this one. At the end of the book, it did start to get a little over the head and kind of browbeating, with the desire of wanting people to follow Jesus and that he's your savior and all that stuff. And I'm not saying I don't believe that, because I do, but I just feel like there is a softer, gentler way of talking to people about your faith. And in the story, they talk about how that's what got them through, was that they were able to keep a Bible with them. They had to sneak around to have the Bible, because they weren't supposed to have it. But they talk about how they would read the Bible together, Betsy and Corrie, and then other people started listening. And so they started, kind of having evening Bible studies and worship services, which I think is really great. And I think that is, you know, a perfectly fine way to talk to people about faith. But like at the end, it talked about, like in the epilogue, it talked about kind of where she went after that. She did a lot of talks all over the world, really, about, you know, her experiences in the camp and how she was able to keep her faith and all that. And I think that's beautiful. But it just, there were a couple times where I was just like, we got it. Like, you kept your faith. Move on to the other part of the story. I'm just not a big fan of that. I just think it's a little too aggressive for me. That said, I still do give this book a 3. I do feel like, because the beginning of the book like starts a couple years before the war, so you kind of have a little bit of the understanding of what happened before the war, how their family worked and all that stuff. And I just felt like that was like 2.5, maybe 3 chapters of just information that I didn't really need. I mean, it was nice, but like it was just information that I didn't really need. I wanted to get like to the crux of the story and everything, which again goes back to why I thought the musical was so long. And again, like I said, I don't have a problem with anybody that was in the musical. My sister-in-law and a good friend of hers, they were both in it as Corrie and Betsy. So you know, there's that connection there, but it was just too long. It was too long. It was way too long for anybody. The book, now that I've read the book, it makes a lot of sense about why it was so long. But yeah, so I give it a 3 out of 5. Probably won't be, like, she's got, Corrie ten Boom has like a bunch of other books. Oh, and that was the other thing. So she had help writing this, I think partially because of translating by a John and Elizabeth Sherrill. I think it was just kind of like they were helping to translate and stuff. But because of that, I wonder how much of what was written was actually Corrie, and then how much was actually this John and Elizabeth Sherrill folks. Just because I always have that question whenever I read certain books from a long time ago, especially if there's some other names attached to it. Like, I just want to know like how much they expounded upon or didn't expound upon or added or took out or whatever. Like, I'm always interested in that kind of stuff. But that said, I don't think I'm going to read any more of anything by Corrie ten Boom because it's long and exhaustive. So there you go. Hiding Place by Corrie ten Boom. The Hiding Place by Corrie ten Boom. So as usual, thanks for watching. You guys notice I'm in a different location. I'm actually in my classroom at school because I just kind of finished reading this. So, but if you guys have any book suggestions, please feel free to drop those in the comments. I really appreciate those of you that have been following since I started doing these since day one. Gotten a few more followers, and it's not really about the followers, but I do appreciate you guys. And a lot of y'all have given me book suggestions, which is awesome. So look forward to getting into some more of those book suggestions. I hope that you guys will continue to support this endeavor. This is book number 16, I think, for the year. So we're about to start 17. So I'm kind of excited about that. All right. See you guys.